Boker Tov, today's daf is daf Kuf Gimel in Baba Kamas. We learn for Achenu called Beis Yisrael on a Sumas of Shivya, and for Kurt's wife, Tamar Chana Bas Frida, who's having a procedure this morning. All right, so we're up to the third line of daf Kuf Gimel Rav. We're in the middle of the story about a person who went and bought something. A Lokeach went and bought something from the Mocher, and he asked that he should put it in the name of the Reish Galusa, so that nobody will contend with him over this property. Then he requested another document saying, besides that you sold it to him, give me a document that shows that it sold it to me too, so I can prove that it's mine in case the Reish Galusa or his family try to take it away. So we said over there, you can't force him to do that. However, if it was stipulated up front, then you could force him. Let's analyze that. Amar, you bought a field in the name of, say, of the Reish Galusa. You can't force the seller to now give you another star and to sell to you again, basically, to give you another star. Well, isn't it obvious? You bought it plain. You said you bought it from the Reish Galusa. Why would he give you another document now? Pshitam out the same time. I think that the Lokeach, the buyer, can tell the seller, you know very well that I bought it for myself. Why would I buy something for the Reish Galusa? He's got his own money. You know very well that I bought it for myself. I just was giving myself more protection by putting it in his name, so nobody will contest this property.
Saying that you said you gave me $100 for this field.
Right.
That's proof that he bought it.
Right. Well, the fact that he gave him a shtar mecher is enough that he doesn't need a receipt. You don't always get a receipt. In other words, when he gave him the bill of sale, he gave him the invoice. It's what they call an invoice/receipt. You understand? So he gave him the money, but he could. First of all, it's not a kasha because he could have given him the money on behalf of the Reish Galusa. So what? He's not arguing about the fact that I give you the money or I didn't give you the money. He paid for it. No question, he paid for it. But he said he bought it for the Reish Galusa. So the invoice said, I'm selling it to the Reish Galusa. So the question, so he can't ask for another investment. Isn't that obvious? He can't ask for another one? He says, no, I might think the buyer could tell the seller, you know that I bought it for myself. I was just trying to get more protection. I wouldn't have put my money out for nothing. I'm not going to buy something for him. I gave you the money with the understanding that you're going to give me another star in my name, not just the Reish Galusa's Kamash. We don't say that. The Amr Lay, because the seller could tell him, in Yana Abdilcha, I did you a favor. I did a business with you, Bahadi Yahu Dezavnaslay. Together with the one who you claim to bought it, Bishmei, in his name. Let him write a star for you. We did a deal over there. I did a deal for you, and I wrote it in his name because you asked me to write it in his name. Now let him write you a star. We already wished you a full shalema, and you come right away. Look how fast that worked, right? Okay. So that's why we understand. They can say, listen, you want to get a receipt, or you want to get proof that you bought it in your name. We bought it. You told us to put it in the name of the Reish Galusa, so we put it in his name. You want to get a document from him? Go to him for a document. I did mine. You got to do yours now. If he said, I'm only buying it on the condition that you're going to give me a document saying also that I bought it from you, then you force the mocher to write it. I'm asking for limkor. If he did it on that condition, you do sell. Pshit, isn't that obvious? If that was the condition, write it, give me a bill of sale that is written out that it's sold to the Exelard. In addition, I'm making a condition that I'm giving you the money on the condition that you're also going to give me another document in my name. Isn't that obvious? Let's read it. The Amar Lahu Lasadi Kamedi Day. What happened was while he was buying, when he bought it, he told the witnesses to the deal that I'm going to want another document that is written in my name, not just in the Reish Galusa's name. Chazu d'shtar achlina kabina. Be careful. Look, I want another star. It's not just one star. I want the other star. Mao, the same I might think must see Amrle. The seller can say, Amina star meheach dekashaklis b'shmei kamret. I thought that you want to get another document from the Reish Galusa, not from me. Right? When you said to them that you want another document besides the one that's written out, that the invoice is written out to the Reish Galusa, you want another document written out in your name? I thought you meant you're going to go to him to get it. Kamash Malana, we don't say that. The Amalei, the buyer could say, Lahachi Tarchi, that's why I troubled myself. Amilu la'edim kamach. I told the Adam in front of you, Diminachu de Kabina. That's why did I tell the Adam in front of you? If I'm going to go get another document from the Exilarch, why would I bother telling it to the Adam in front of you? The reason I told it in front of you is because I want you to give me such a document. So it comes out that in this case, when you bought something in the name of the Reish Galusa, and you bought it stam, then afterwards you want another invoice written out in your name, you can't force the seller to give you that. But if that was the condition, then you could force it. Rav Kana, now a story now. We're still dealing with this issue that came up yesterday that the Bnei Marava said about Rabbi Yochanan's interpretation of Rabbi Yehuda, that Rabbi Yehuda held that the Shinu is not Kona, and but yet he didn't follow the instructions. If the Balabais told him to buy wheat and he bought barley, etc., he didn't follow his instructions. But so he doesn't share in the losses, but he would share in the gain. But how does the seller sell it to the buyer if he didn't know that the buyer is buying it? He didn't know that the Balabai is involved in the transaction over here. So that issue is going to come up now in this next story. That's why this next story is brought down here. Story like this: Rav Kana Yov Zuzah Kisna. He bought some flax. He paid some money for some flax, and he bought it, from the Kana was the purchaser, and he bought it from the Mocha, the seller. L'sof Iker Kisna. Now, what happened is that he didn't quite take possession yet, and meanwhile, the price of the flax went up. It went up after it belonged to Rav Kana, apparently. Zavne Marvasa the Kisna. So the original owner, the seller who sold him the flax, it was still, in other words, we'll see later on that it's speaking about where he put the money down now to get the flax later. Meanwhile, the price of the flax went up, and the original owner of the flax farmer, we'll call him, also came, he sold it. In other words, Rav Kana bought the flax. Let's say it was worth $100. He put $100, he put $100 worth of flax. That flax went up in value to $200, and the owner, who had possession still of the flax, sold it to somebody else on behalf of Rav Kana in order to give Rav Kana the $200. And Rav Kana made money on the deal, right? It's like you bought a stock at 100, went up, and you didn't even tell the broker, and it went up to 200, and he sold it for you. Okay, now Rav Kana though was concerned: is it ribbit? Why? Because he didn't really take possession. Also, came for Rav. Amalei. So Rav said like this: My Avid came for Rav. He asked Rav, "My Avid, what should I do? Should I take the money now? I bought it for 100, and I never really took possession. Now it went up to 200, so it's like I put down 100 and I'm getting 200. It's like I'm getting rebit." Amalei said like this: If Kika Gazapni, when the original owner of the farmer, we'll call him the flax farmer, when he sold the flax on your behalf, Kika Zapni, when he sold it, Amri, he said, "Hi, Kisna the Kanu, I'm selling you Kahana's flax. Kahana bought this from me a while back. He paid 100. Not important, right? He paid 100. Now I'm selling it to you. The price went up. I'm selling it to some new purchaser for 200. If he said, I'm selling you Kahana's flax, so he was just acting as your agent. You bought it for 100. It went up to 200. He sold it. There's no problem with that. You could take your 200. You could take your 200. Zil Shkol, take the money. Be low. But if he didn't say, I'm selling you Kahana's, right? He didn't say that. He just went and sold it. Low Tishko. You shouldn't take it because it looks like ribbon. Okay. So the Gemara now says this is how it's related to our Gemara. Come on, Maraba. Is this like the people from Eretz Yisrael, the Amri, they said, Mio Dio Labal Chitin Shiyak the Chitin Labal Mos? Who told the owner of the chitin to sell the chitin to the balamos? And others here too. In this case, if he didn't tell the purchaser that it's Kahana's, so it looks like Kahana put some money down, and now that money became 200. It's like he's getting rebid. Are you saying it like that? Gemara says no. It's not comparable at all. Even if he didn't know, even if the new purchaser did not know it's Kahana's, me Yoav Rav Kana Arba V'Shakol Timnei. Did Rav Kana put down 400 in order to get 800? Was he doing a transaction? Did he lend money? Did he lend out 400 and got 800 back? Kiss the Mamelu Iker. He didn't get what we call ribit. The definition of ribit is getting money for the time value, right? That's what ribit is. Here it's not like he put down 400 and a few months later he's getting 800. So you could say he's getting interest, usury. No, what happened over here was he bought the flax and the flax went up in price. Megzol Gazlua, when it really belonged to Rav Kana, he bought down the money and it was his flax. And what happened was that the original flax farmer, he stole it, right? It belonged to Kahana. He stole it and sold it. Great. Afterwards, he did him a favor. He gave him the money, but he stole it. We learned Kol Gazlan Mishamak Shasik Zel. That's what we learned at the beginning of this parak. All Gazlanim pay according to the time they stole it. When did he steal it? When he sold it. When he sold it to the new purchaser for 200. Well, at that point, it was worth 200, so he's entitled to it. So what kind of a case is this? What difference does it make if the other guy knew who the owner was or not? Rav Kana didn't put down 400, say, listen, here's 400, and later on give me back 800. It wasn't a case of rebit. It was simply a case of he bought something and it went up in value. Amri, so it said, here's what happened over there. Amri Hossam Amonahavoy. It was purchased on trust, meaning the flax farmer didn't have the flax at the time that Kahana gave him the $100. The original deal, he didn't have it yet. It was going to grow, but he made a deal. They make a deal like this: if you pay early, you'll get it at the low price. If you pay later, you'll get it when it's all grown and it costs more money then. He had never made a kinyan. He never made a kinyan on the flax, right? But Rav was like this: if you give money early in the season for fruits and at the low price, and the fruits go up in price, so that when you get the fruits later on, that you really made a good purchase. Is that rebit? You paid now at this price, and you're getting it back when the price is higher. So you've made something. That's okay. That's not really rebit. You just paid early, and in return for paying early, you got a lower price, and the price go up. However, if instead of the price of payros, you get money. In other words, I bought $100 worth of payros. They're going to be worth 200 later on, but they're worth 100 right now. I paid 100 right now at the low price. Later on, I'm going to get the same fruits when they're worth 200. You can do that if you get the fruits, but if it's converted to money and he gives you money instead, you put down $100 now, right? And for $100 worth of payros. And then when the payros are worth 200, you're supposed to get the payros, but the guy says, I'll tell you what, I'll give you money instead. That looks like rebit. It's not really rebit, because real rebit is I'm lending you money, I'm lending you $100 and give me back 110. Over here, it's for a purchase, but it looks like rebit because I gave you 100. At the end, you're giving me back 200. So it looks like rebit.
And then appreciates the 150, you sell it, you get $50 more.
That's simply a purchase that you bought, like you bought goods. I bought goods. I bought a shirt for $100. Now it went up in value to 150 and I sold it. That's a legitimate business. Nothing wrong with that. But if I paid $100 for a shirt and the guy says, I paid $100 now, he says, you know what? I'll give you the shirt in 2 months when it'll be worth 150. And then when it comes to giving me the shirt, you say, I'll tell you what, instead of the thing, I'll give you $150. That looks like rebit. And that's what he said over here too. So that's why he said, if he told you that he's selling you Kahana's flax, then you could take it. Otherwise, it looks like rebit because you're getting cash back. It was cash for cash. You put down cash and you got cash back in return. It's not really rebit. It's not really rebit d'oraisa. Most of the rebit that we talk about that's forbidden is not really rebit d'oraisa. Rebit d'oraisa is really simply where you bought, you let money, get it back, like a loan, like a mortgage. That would be that. Just want to get Okay, in the beginning of Vayikra, we're now at the Mishnah on Daf Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph. For those joining us late, and I want to quote the pasuk first. We'll see the pasuk. This is in Parak Hay of Vayikra. It says like this: Nefesh ki sechto molava b'Hashem. If a person sins, he denies that he owes him money. Reuven got from Shimon, let's say, a deposit. Shimon deposited some money with Reuven, a pikadon, and he denies it. Or he was given, let's say, it as a loan or to do some business with it, and he was given the money legitimately, and now he denies it. Because I actually stole it. Like he withheld his wages, and he denies it. Kichesh, he denies it. Or he found an item and he denied that it was, he found somebody's lost item and he denies that he has it. Benishba ala shakar, he swore falsely. Now it's one thing to deny it, right? You have some money, I have your money, and I deny it, and Adam come and say I have your money, so I have to give you the money back. But if I deny it and I swear falsely about it, and now when I admit it afterwards, not only do I have to pay back what I stole from you, but I have to add on 20% or 25%, actually. It's 20% milgab, and bring a carbon. That's what we call Hasham Gzelos. Every morning in Kabbalah, we say there's 5 Hashamas. One of them is Hasham. That's Hasham Gzelos. You stole it. You got to pay it itself. You add on 20%. That's 20% from the milabar, what we call, meaning you add on 25%. Lasher hu lo, to the one who you owe the money, nenu biyomash on the day of your guilt. You got to bring a carbon. I owe Tommy bring carbon. That's the end of the Vayikra, of the Sedra Vayikra, the beginning of Vayikra, in the Parakeh and Vayikra. So that's what the pasuk says. So again, when do you have to add on 25% and bring a carbon? If you swore falsely about it, not only did you deny it, but you swore falsely about it, and then you admitted it. Now, if you never admitted it, there's Adam against you, so you don't have to pay. But the idea of the Asham, and the 25%, the fine of the extra 25% and bringing a carbon is only if you swore falsely and then you admitted it. Now our mission, let's see our mission. It goes as Chaver Shavapruta, any amount, right? Any amount. Shavapruta is the minimum amount of money. Less than that's not considered money. So you stole some money from somebody. The Nishbalo, now you swore to him that you don't have it. You swore that you didn't steal it. And afterwards, you're moda. Now, it's okay. So, of course, you're moda. So you learned already. You got to pay the 25%. You got to bring a carbon. But the mission says a big chiddush. You have to make sure he gets the money. You have to take him even across the world. You better make sure he gets his money back, because the pasuk says, so you better make sure he gets the money. Not enough, don't just leave it in his mailbox or write him a check and mail it or give it to his kids or anything like that. No, you got to make sure he gets the money. So it goes as that's the big chiddush of the mission. You got to schlep it there no matter what. You have to make sure. Rashi says, "Ein lo kapara ad shiachzol and nigzol atzmo." The siv nishbal l'shakar, right? I'm sorry. The siv lasher lo hulo. The one who you owe it to, you got to give it to him. You got nishbal shakar siv. So that's the pasuk I just quoted.
Who's the subject for Yolichenu Acharav?
Yolichenu Acharav. You got to take the money to the person you stole it from.
You meaning the Goslin?
The Goslin. You got to take it in. You got to, because it says Lasher Hulo. Again, the pasuk we just quoted. Lasher Hulo, the one that you owe the money to, that he owns the money. Nenu, you have to give it to him directly. You almost was on the day of your guilt. Okay, so that's the Chiddush of Mishnah. Lo Yiten Lolav. No, don't give it to his son. Let's say you give it to his son and it didn't reach him. The son had an accident, lost the money. You haven't fulfilled your obligation, because the pasuk says over here in this case where you swore falsely and then you admit it, you got to make sure he gets the money. Blow shulchan, not to his messenger. Avol l'shliach bezin. Okay, but the rabbis made a dispensation that, let's say, now here you know who you stole the money from. This is what's going to be important. Where's going to make this difference? You stole the money from this guy, and you swore, and then you admitted and all that. Yeah, you got to give him the money. However, let's say you owe him $5, and it's going to cost you $200 just to reach his cities in LA or in some other place. Then you can give it to a shliach bezin, and bezin will eventually, he'll get the money from bezin. That's okay too. Then if the guy died, you owe the money to his children. Because that's the only way. That's the only way you really fulfill your obligation, and the only way you'll get a kapara is if you make sure that he gets the money either directly. If he dies, give it to his children, or if it's too far away and it's too expensive, give it to the court. Now, let's say he paid the Karen. Karen is the principal amount. Let's take our case. Let's say he stole $100, right? He's got to pay him how much? 125. Let's say he paid him the 100. He didn't give him the extra 25 yet. Or mochalos a Karen. Let's say for some reason the guy says, I'm mochel. You don't have to pay me the $100. Just give me the fine, the 25%. Or mochalos, I'll say, or he relieved him of everything. He forgave the whole debt. Chutz mi pachas sheva pruta, the Karen. Except you still owe me less than a sheva pruta. I'm mochel the whole thing. Then there's no reason to run after him. In other words, you only have to go after him. You only have to run after him all the way to Madai. In other words, go to far away place. Make sure you pay him only if you owe him the Karen. If all you owe him is the chomesh, the extra 25%, then you don't have to run after him. Or if the amount of the Karen is less than a penny, right? We're talking about it's $100. You owe him $100. If the amount of the debt is less than a penny, you don't have to go. Let's say the other way around. Nasos chomesh. You gave him the 25%. I'll tell you what, I owe you the fine. I'll give you the fine first. I didn't pay the $100 yet. Or machal the chomesh, it was mochel the chomesh for machal Karen. Still owes him the Karen. Or machal, as I say, he was mochel and everything. Chutz mishava prut to the Karen, but he still owes him at least 1 penny out of the $100. In other words, as long as you still owe him some Karen, then you got to run after him all the way to Madai. Okay, now that's the deal. Now again, why? Because you swore falsely about this amount of money that you stole from him, that you misappropriated from him, and then you admitted it, so then the rules come into effect, the 25% fine and the carbon. Let's say he paid back the $100. After this whole thing, after he swore falsely and admitted, he paid the $100, yet he didn't pay the chomesh, but he claims he did. Now he swore falsely about the extra 25%. That 25% now becomes a new Karen. This is another round of swearing falsely. And then he admitted after he swore falsely, he admitted that he owes him the $25, let's call that, right? So now how much does he owe? He owes another 25% of that, another 7.5, exactly right. Another what is it?
25%.
It says 6.25, isn't it? It's another 6.25. 25% of 25 is not 7.5, is 6.25, I think, right? Okay. Anyway, he owes him another 25% on top of that. Okay. Now, he pays 25% on the 25%. And this will go on and on. Let's say then he pays him the $25 that he admitted, right? Right? And then he says, the other 6.25, I paid you. I swore falsely about that. And again, he admitted that. So he's got to add another 25% all the way down until the amount of the Karen is less than a penny. Okay, that's the rule of swearing falsely and then admitting it.
You start saving any money, you start has to bring it on Asham.
Every time he's bringing Asham, correct. It's another round. No, he's losing his shirt, right? He's losing his shirt. You're right. It's another round. People come besides the kapara, he's got to make sure he returns it to him. It's all day. Whatever is the Karen, he has to return. He has to make sure he makes all the effort to return the money all the way. We'll see. There are cases when you don't have to make such an effort to return it, right? But that's what we're talking about over here. The same thing, whether he stole it. Our mission says Hagozo, but the same thing applies to if he was given it legitimately, he got into his hands legitimately as a deposit shenemar, or whether it's a deposit or sumasyad, or sumasyad means he got the money legitimately, either a loan or he gave it to him to invest for him, whatever. Or he didn't pay his wages, whatever. Or or he found the lost item of the fellows, the kifich, and he denied it. That's the rule. You pay the principal, the extra 25%, and you bring an asham. Okay. Now, so it says on our mission, nishbalo, if he swore, all this applies that he has to schlep all the way around if he swore falsely, right? Nishbalo, ain't lo nishbalo. But if he didn't swear about it, he just denied it, then apparently he wouldn't have to go all the way to Madai. He wouldn't have to schlep all the way. Money, who does this go? Like lower Reb Tarfon, lower Reb Akiva. We have famous machlok between Reb Tarfon and Reb Akiva. And the Gemara is going to try to say first that it goes like Reb Akiva because usually the Mishnayos go like Reb Akiva. Rashi says that Reb Akiva mikar, we try to say like Akiva, Mishum, all stam mishnas, all anonymous mishnas are basically according to Rabbi Akiva. We say stam mishnas Rav Meir, but Rav Meir was a Talmud of Rabbi Akiva. Basically, it goes according to Rabbi Akiva's sheet. Okay, so the Chara, this Mishnah doesn't go like Rabbi Tarfon or like Rabbi Akiva. Why? Because our Mishnah says when do you have to schlep all the way there? Only if you swore falsely about it. Besides the asham and the 25%, you got to make sure he gets it. You got to take it all the way to his hand. The Mishnah doesn't go like a Tafel, like a Bekiva. At the time, we learned this famous case. You stole from one of 5 people. There were 5 people at a conference, and while they were having their 10 o'clock break for Danish and coffee, you went into their pocket and stole one of their money from one of them. Right? You don't know which one you took it from. You checked all their coats, right? And you took the money out of them. You don't know who you took it from. Now you regret it. You want to admit it. Everybody says you took it from me. Everybody says it was my money because they didn't know how much money they had in their wallet. Everybody says you took it from me. How do you solve this problem? You only stole, let's say again, $100, but you don't know who you took it from, and everybody claims it was my money. So what do? Never says, what? Leave the $100 there and let them fight it out. That's what Rav Tarfon says. You only stole $100. What am I supposed to do? I don't know who I took it from. I admit it. Here's the money. You guys fight it out. Rabbi Kiva Omer, this doesn't absolve you, take you away from the Aveira, because you have an obligation. You have to return it to the owner. If you don't know who the owner is, and you're such an idiot for stealing it in the first place, and then admitting it, and now you don't know who you stole it from. How are you making good on your robbery? How did you do this? That's not going to absolve you from Aveira. You got to pay each of them $100 because you don't know who did it. Now, it would be very nice if one of them said, I was the one, and the other ones say, it wasn't me. Then it's fine. And then it's a simple case. We don't need the Gemara for that. Here we're talking about a case where everybody says it was theirs, and you don't know what to do. Rav Tarfon says it's not your problem. Put the money down. Let them fight it out. Rav Kiva says that's a nice answer, but that's not going to absolve you of your atonement. To be atoned, to be properly atoned, you got to return the money. Now we're assuming over here that there is no nobody swore here. Money. If it goes like Rav Tarfon, if our Mishnah would be Rav Tarfon, Avagav the Shtaba. Apparently, Rav Tarfon the Chora would hold, which for assuming was now, even though you swore, even though the person swore, right, that he didn't take it first he stole it, then he swore that he didn't take it. Even if he swore, just leave the money there. Rav Tarfon says your way out of the situation, just leave the money, let them fight. So why our Mishnah says if you swore falsely, then you have to take the money and make sure he gets it. Who does our Mishnah go like? Does go like Rav Tarfon. Rav Tarfon says even if you swore, apparently Rav Tarfon would say, even if you swore, just leave the money there. You don't have to go give it back to the guy. Leave the money there and let them fight it out. Even Rav Kiva, if it goes like Rav Kiva, Afagav the lo shtaba. Even though you didn't swear, because you need a kapara. So Rav Kiva, if you didn't swear, so who is it in our Mishnah who says if you swore and then you admitted it, you swore falsely and then you admitted it, then you have to make sure it gets into his hands. According to Rav Tarfon, even if you swore, you don't have to put it in his hands. And according to Rav Kiva, even if you didn't swear, you have to make sure he gets it back. So who does our Mishnah go like? So the Gemara first says, Lolam Rav Kiva goes like Rav Kiva. Maybe when Rav Kiva said, you have to pay each and every one back, maybe it's only where he swore. Who the Gemara? My time. In this case, where you swore falsely and then you admitted it to the one who you owe the money to, then it'll be your mashma, so you have to give it to him. Maybe, in other words, even when Rav Kiva says you have to make sure you get the money back, that's not going to take you out of sin, and you have to pay each one of them back the $100, all 5 of them. Maybe that's only when you swore falsely. Rav Tarfon says, no, Afagav the Shtaba. Rav Tarfon says, I don't care, even if you swore falsely. The Rabbanah made it takana. In other words, why? Just like the Rabbanah made it takana in our Mishnah. What did they make it takana in our Mishnah? That if it's too far, if it's going to cost you $500 to return and $5 stealing, you can just give it to the court. Well, the same way, the Rabbanah made it takana here, where it's a suffix, you don't know who you took it from. The Rabbanah made it takana for you here also, right? Rashi says that takana shavim, to encourage you to do tshuva. If you say, like Rabbi Kiva, I got to return $100 to each of the 5, I'm walking away from here. I'm not doing that, right? So in order to encourage you to do tshuva, Rabbi Tarfon says, the Rabbanah made it takana, put the $100 down that you stole. It's not your money. Let them fight it out. Yeah, we're talking about right. So according to, if we're speaking about where you swear, we're assuming that they were talking about where they didn't swear. Rav Tarfon, Rabbi Kiva, but Rav Tarfon is saying even though you swore, fine, you swore, so you'll bring a carbon, right, and you'll add 25%, but you could just put it down here, let them fight it out. That's what Rav Tarfon would say. Rav Tarfon, I've got the Shtaba, but the time Rav Blazer, Rav Tzadok Omer, Takana Gdol Iskinu, The Rabbanan made a big, they made a reform, a rule, that if the expenses to return the money, to schlep all the way to Los Angeles to return the money, was more than the principal that you stole, you pay the Chamish to the court, or maybe when you bring your carbon to Maskaper loan, that's you get your kapar. That's good enough. That's good enough. That's all you need to do. Okay, so just like the Rabbanan made a takana that you can give it you can give the money to the court, the same way they made a takana. That's what Rashi is saying here. That the takana shav the masafka, just like they made a takana, they made it the cycle. They leave it there. Keretanya, Rabbanan, Gabi Gozel. Let's say you can't find an exil right now. Give it to the court. That's good enough. So the same thing made a takana. Just leave the money here. Good enough. Okay, so at this point we want to say that who does our Mishnah go like? Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva says you got to return it to each one of them. When maybe it's only when you swore. So our Mishnah says if you swore falsely, you got to make sure you get the money to him. Who is that? That's Rabbi Kiva, who says you got to make sure you got to do a proper hashava, make sure the money gets into his hands. And maybe that means only when you swore. But if you didn't swear, maybe Rabbi Kiva that. Rabbanan say Kiva, but Rabbanan when did the Rabbanan make a takana that what? You can give it back to the court, where you know who you stole it from. They're going, how to lay the You're giving money back when you know you stole it from this guy, right? Not the like in our Mishnah where you know you stole from a certain guy and you denied it and then you admitted it. And it's too expensive, costs too much to return the money to him. Give it to the court because he'll get it back eventually. The court is acting just as a depository. You're giving the money back to the owner, he'll get it back. But in case we were arguing where you stole from one of five to that you don't know who you stole it from. Now you can't give the money. You can't just leave the money on the table there and give it to the court. What's that going to help? That's not going to help solve the problem. Well, they didn't make it to cut in case you have to return it. So at this point, we're saying that our Mishnah goes like Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva who says when you stole money from one of five, what do you have to do? You have to return it to each one. That's speaking about where you swore. Where you swore falsely, do you need a proper kapara? You got to return it to each one. That's what our Mishnah is. You got to, just like Rabbi Kiva says here, you have to return it to each one. So Rabbi Kiva says in our Mishnah, you have to make sure the money gets into his hand. The Rabbanan didn't make it to kind of just give it to the court. Giving it to the court is fine when you know who you stole it from. But here you don't know who you stole it from, so you got to make sure it gets into his hands. That's that you got to pay to each one of the five. That's what Rabbi Kiva is talking about. But again, so we're saying now our Mishnah goes like Rabbi Kiva. Masar Rav Huna Bar Yehuda. We're now going to prove that there's a problem if you say the Mishnah goes like Rabbi Kiva. Masar Rav Huna Bar Yehuda. Am Rav Shimon Elazar. Rav Shimon Elazar says the following. Lo nechad Tarfon Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Kiva, who apparently argued, right, in the case of where you stole from one of five people, the Rabbi Tarfon says just leave the money there, and Rabbi Kiva says you got to pay each one. They don't argue. Let's say you bought it from one of five stores. Not that you stole something. You bought something from one of five stores, and you don't know who you bought it from, and you want to pay. There, Rabbi Kiva also agrees with Rabbi Tarfon, just leave the money there. You bought it from one of five vendors. You don't know who you bought it from. So you didn't did you sin over here? Did you do some terrible? No, you didn't do a crime. You went into a store, you bought it from one of five, and you're not sure who you bought it from. And they all claim that it's from them. So there you can just leave the money there. Aman, what's the machlok? You sinned. You stole from one of the Mechamim Shabnei Adam. Shab Tarfon says, leave the exhale there and Mustalk and leave. That's good enough. That's not like them. But if we're saying, where does Rabbi Kiva say this business that you have to pay each of the five where you swore? Well, if you swore falsely, mali lokach mali goes. What's the difference? You stole if you bought or you stole. If you look at you bought something, you say, okay, I didn't sin. But if I swore falsely about it, that means I did sin. So what's the difference if I purchased it or I stole? Either way, I swore falsely, knowingly, and then I admitted it. I went into the store and I bought something, right? Five vendors say, hey, you bought it from me. And I swear falsely, right, that I didn't buy it from them. I swear falsely I didn't buy it from them, right? I don't know who I'm saying it, but first, it's not speaking where I don't know. I don't know who I bought it. The truth is, I don't know who I bought it from, right? But I first swore falsely and said I didn't buy it from any of you. And then he admitted it. So if you swore falsely, you're a sinner whether your original deal was a purchase or whether it was exela. So what's the difference? If we're saying Rabbi Kiva only says you have to pay back, what's going on over here? Rabbi Kiva says you stole from one of five people, you don't know who you stole from, you got to pay them each back. Now we're saying, okay, our Mishnah speaks, it goes like Rabbi Kiva, and Rabbi Kiva is talking about where you swore about it, right? Rabbi Kiva didn't say that you pay back all 5 if you didn't swear. You only have to pay back all 5 if you swore falsely about it. Okay, right? So our Mishnah go like Rabbi Kiva because you swore falsely. But if you're talking about, we say, according to this Rav Shimon Elazar, he says that there's no machlokas by a purchase, only by exela. But if Rabbi Kiva is only talking about where you swore falsely about it, that's his whole thing. What's the difference if you stole or you purchased? Either way, you swore falsely.
You stole.
Pardon?
Either way, you stole.
Either way, you stole because you swore falsely. The sin is for swearing falsely. When you swore falsely, that's what the parsha says. When you swore falsely about it, then you admitted, then you have to pay. So over here, what's the difference? Makes a difference if it was exela. The Mishnah says by gazel ben sumas yad, ben oshek. If you swore falsely, that's why you have to pay. So if Rabbi Kiva is only saying that you have to pay each of the 5, in other words, make sure that the person you stole from got his money, like our Mishnah, and like over there, it's only where you swore falsely. What's the difference if it was a purchase or not? Elamai must be that Rabbi Kiva didn't say that you have to pay back all 5, only based on when you swore, even if you didn't swear that. So if you didn't swear, if you purchased something and you don't know who you bought it from, so it's enough to say leave it there, let them pick it up, just like you said, I didn't swear anything about it, I just don't know. But where you stole something, then because you're a bad boy, you got to make sure it's returned, even if there was no shvua. That's apparently Rabbi Kiva's not saying. So we want to say our Mishnah goes like Rabbi Kiva, who says that our Mishnah speaking about our Mishnah says that when you swore, then you have to make sure he gets it back. That goes like Rabbi Kiva, and maybe Rabbi Kiva's only talking about where you swore. Here you see Rabbi Kiva's talking about where you didn't swear, because if you swore, what's the difference between zela and purchase? It's the same thing. But Ogmas of Rava. Now Rava asks another kasha from a story not like Reb Elazar Reb Shimon, but another point. Masav Rava, the story with the chassid, Shalakach Mishnei Bnei Adam. He bought something from one of 2 people. He's not sure who he bought it from. It was like a bazaar, and you picked up something, and people don't have it's not in the computer with the inventory and all that. He bought it from, he's not sure who he took it from. Both of them came from Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon said, leave the money there, let them fight it out. You walk away. Both of them came from your only remedy is to pay each one of them. Now over there, the Mishtaba, if Rabbi Kiva was only talking about where you swore, Chassid mi Mishtaba, does the Chassid swear? A Chassid doesn't swear. A Chassid wouldn't make such a shvua, right? Means b'shikah, he would make it swear, but he wouldn't swear falsely. Chassid mi Mishtaba b'shikah, would he swear falsely? Now in this case, Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon said, right? Rav Elazar Reb Shimon said that Rabbi Kiva would say in a case of a purchase that he also agrees that you could just leave your money there. In the story here with Rabbi Kiva and the Chassid, it's clear that Rabbi Kiva holds even in the case of a purchase, you have to make good. So the 2 stories don't go together. This story here, the story that Rav is bringing down, does not agree with Rav Elazar Reb Shimon. But from both cases, you see that Rabbi Kiva is not talking about where you swore. When Rabbi Kiva says that you have to return the money to each of the 5 when you stole from one of 5 people, it's not where you swore, because if you swore, the same thing would be whether you bought it. And from this story, you see, it says a story with a chassid who bought from one of 2 people, and he's not sure. Reb Tarfon said, just leave the money and leave. Reb Kiva says, no, you're not remedied, you're not fixed until you pay each and every one. No, if it's speaking about where he swore, a chassid wouldn't swear falsely. Maybe he swore before he became a chassid. Maybe he swore and then he did tshuva, but then he became a chassid. Whenever the Gemara talks about a story with a very pious person, it's Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. It's either the time Rabbi Yehuda Baba or Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi. Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi, Stam Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi. It's one of those people. Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, Rabbi Yehuda, these 2 rabbis, Rabbi Eloi, Chasim Mikar, they were Chasim originally. They weren't Bali Tshuva. So it can't be speaking about you made a shvu over here. So you can't say that it's going like our Mishnah is going like Rabbi Kiva, and Rabbi Kiva is only talking about that you have to return it, make sure that gets into the hands of the person of the nixal only when you swore. Even when you didn't swear, Rabbi Kiva says that. Elolam Rav Tarfon. So the Gemara says no. Maybe our Mishnah really goes like Rav Tarfon, who says just leave the money here. Maybe Rav Tarfon says just leave the money and walk away. Leave the money if you're not sure you took it from. That's when you didn't swear. But if you swore, you got to make sure the money you guys, my time. The says one who belongs to you, you got to pay him on the day of your guilt. If Rabbi Kiva would say, even though you didn't swear, it's a kanas. You've got to make sure everybody gets paid back to get a kapara. So the Gemara says, okay, you want to say goes like Rav Tarfon, even when you swore, you want to say our Mishnah goes like a Rekiva, like Rav Tarfon, but even when you swore, you still have to be moda in order for there to be a chiv of a carbon and 25%, etc. So Ma'ir ben Ishba, what do you have to swear for? I feel below shvua. Why do you have to say that he swore? I feel below shvua. Tiny motor Rav Tarfon. Rav Tarfon himself says when he tells two people, I stole from one of you. I stole $100 from one of you. I don't know from which one I stole from you. Somebody's got to pay each one. So Rav Tarfon is if you're moda, even without a shvua, you have to pay each one. Shekvar hodem if they ask because he's moda b'atzma. If a man comes over and says, "Listen, I stole from one of two of you," right? This Rav Tarfon says, "I know I stole from one of two of you. I'm not sure which one. I got to pay back each one." So what do you say? You still have to moda the kapara v'shavin, the kapara and the extra 25%. A hodiksiv, right? You still have to be moda. But if you're moda, what do you have to swear for? Rav Tarfon himself says, "Omel shnayim gazalti echem mikem mana." No money got to pay each one. Once you're moda yourself, right? Once you're moda yourself, you have to pay back each one. Does this go against what Rav Tarfon said before? Yes. The tiny you pay. There, see there, each one is saying you owe me the money. Each one, they're also somebody's lying over there, right? By the five guys, right? So there he says, good enough, let them fight it out. But over here, each one they're not saying anything. He says, I stole money from one of two of you, and I don't know which one. See, and they don't know, so you got to pay back each one. So what do you have to swear for? Elo Marava. So in our Mishnah, it would work even if there wasn't a shvua, you'd still have to pay back each one. Elo Marava. You have to make sure you pay back each one. That you have to go to Madai either one. The whole question is, why does our Mishnah say if this happened, you got to go all the way to Madai? According to Rabbi Kiva, even if you didn't swear, you'd have to pay him back. And according to Tarfon, apparently, if you're Moda, also you would have to pay him back each one. Elam Rabba Shani Mastis and the Kiva the Yodalaman Gosle, and our Mishnah is different. Why? Because since he knows in our Mishnah who he stole it from, but Odalain, he's moted him that I owe you the money. Kiva the Efshaladurim Mamona Lamari, since it's possible to return the money. It's as if he said, okay, fine. You're holding the money from me. You admit that you owe the money, so I owe you the money. I'm the Goslin, and I admit that I stole it from you now. And now it's as if he's telling him, if he doesn't pay him cash right on the spot, then of course, then there's no problem there. But here we're saying this idea that you have to go all the way to Mother to pay him back. Since he was moted to him, it's as if he says, okay, fine, you'll pay me the money when you get a chance. My money is in your hands, and you'll pay me the money. Hilkach, therefore we say Nishba, if he swore, even though he says, okay, keep you have my money's in your hands. It's a deposit right now. If he swore, even though he says, fine, it'll be in your hands. Keep the boy kapara, since he needs a kapara for swearing falsely. Losagi, it's enough. He's got to make sure he doesn't get a kapara until he reaches the guy's hands. Hello, Ishtaba, but if he didn't swear, he can come and take it. In other words, like this. When a man says, if he didn't swear, our mission go like either one. Both like Rav Tarfon and Rabbi Kiva. Rav Tarfon and Rabbi Kiva arguing when he didn't swear at all. Well, you didn't swear at all. Rav Tarfon says, you just leave the money there and that's good enough. Rabbi Kiva says, no, you got to pay back each one. But our mission that says over here is where he knows who he stole it from. And he says, listen, I stole the money from you and I have to return it to you. Okay, you'll return it to me. If he didn't swear falsely about it, he just stole it. Now he admits it. Okay, he'll return the money to him when he gets a chance. He doesn't have to go all the way there. He doesn't have to go to LA to return the money. It's a bakad until he comes and takes the money. I'll collect the money one day. But if he swore falsely about it, he needs a kapara. And he won't get his kapara until it reaches his hands. And that's why the Mishnah says he must make sure that he gets all the way into his hands. It says Rashi in the third line, Elam Rav Masis and I call Mishnah go like everybody. Below Dami, La'ain Yodeh. It's not like cases where Tarfon garden where he doesn't know. Also, Bein Nishba, Bein Lom Nishba. Whether he swore or he didn't swear, who to plead Rav Tarfon or Rabbi Kiva? Linyan Dina, Rav Tarfon told him Chayav Lach. So whether you swore or not, you don't have to return all the way to him. Whether you swore or not, where you don't know who he took it from. Rabbi Kiva Machayav Afagav Lo Nishba. Even though he didn't swear, the Hosam Dinu, the Afagav Lo Mishtaba over there, even though he didn't swear, you're not Yotzei. He knows who he took it from. The Mizumah is ready to pay back. So therefore, when I admit that I have the money, oh, by the way, you're back in LA, I admit that I stole the money from you. Okay, fine. So I'm holding your money. It's like a bikad and come and collect it one day. But if I swore falsely about it, then I need a kapara, and it's my job. It's the Goslin's job to make sure he gets the money. If he didn't swear falsely about it, then the Goslin has up the cotton from the Nigzal, and then Nigzal can collect it whenever he gets a chance. Or I'll pick up from the 2 dots tomorrow. Mitzvah Shem. Have a good day, everybody.